Okay, should be able to hear me now. Yeah, microphone was on. The problem is that I've got another piece of software that it goes through for virtual processing first, so hooray! Yeah, just refresh there. You guys should be able to hear me now. And, yeah. Hi, okay. Trying again. Yeah, so doing another art stream. We have the, you can see the Sphinx that we voted for last time. This time, we appear to be tied between a corrupted Ent and a pirate ship with crew. And that poll is ended now, so can't be there anymore. So yeah, thanks for coming out, everyone. And do a corrupted Ent on a pirate ship, or do I have to do an Ent that is corrupted into a pirate ship? That's okay. Well, that wasn't my plan. But half the point of this thing is to not have a plan, so I guess that's what it's gonna be. I think we're gonna do a pirate ship that is made out of a corrupted Ent, living pirate ship. Okay, let's get rid of this and get the camera. Oh, there is a camera on this one. It's in a different place. That is weird. Why did I set it up that way? Okay, switch it. There we go. I don't know why I have a camera in a different place on those two setups, but yeah. Corrupted Ent captain. So yeah, my my quarantine hair is getting pretty long. At some point, I'm gonna have to either try and get some kind of haircut, or I'm gonna have to actually just like get a scrunchie or something and make a ponytail. I haven't had a ponytail in a long ass time. Jackson Jelinik's like, corrupted Ent ship is cool as hell. You think so, but you haven't seen whatever the hell I come up with. You're gonna try and do that. I don't know if Arestria is actually here. I think she was up late last night. I don't know if she's gonna make it because she's in a weird time zone. But we'll do better Q&A this time if Arestria is here. If not, I'll just try and do my best. But yeah, the theory is I'm gonna draw some stuff and also do Q&A. I think like last time, we'll worry about picking actual human colors that look like anything. Like, we'll do that near the end. We're just going to start out... Initially, it doesn't matter what colors I use, because I can just change them all later. So I've got to create a shape for an Ent ship. Not a lot of... for some of the other things that we're going to... If we were doing Slad, or if we were doing Pegasus or something, I would want to pick up... Hey, Orestia. Good to see you there. I would want to pick up a... I would just go and Google image search and find myself a subject, but I don't think I'm going to find a lot of help for corrupted Ent ship. I think I'm on my own. So let's see. How would I... Sort of... I know it's not brown. That's what I was saying with the colors. I'm just gonna pick whatever. This is a 100% green. Well, it's actually like 102 out of 255 green. It's not an attempt to find brown. Picking brown is one of the bigger pains in the ass for my colorblindness. So again, we'll worry about that. We can work together as a group to find an appropriate brown later on. But at the moment, it doesn't matter because I can change the colors easily later on. The important thing is the shapes. So, your typical, if we're doing a sort of some kind of a galleon type pirate ship, not counting the Ent, you would want something, I mean, it would be more straight lines normally. Or straight-ish lines. You have the fairly high ship even in the middle, because that's because assuming it would have gun decks. If we're going for pirate shippy stuff. And you want a prow that extends out. Keep selecting. Wow, my mouse is being a jerk. Bought a new keyboard recently, but not a new mouse. Got ourselves a prow there. But, I'm not sure I'm actually going to want this shape in the end anyway, but I've just got to start with something. It's going to be an end. Here's too long. Yeah, I took a peek at some ships first, Tom. I'm not going 100% without, but what I'm mainly trying to figure out is how do I ent it up? I mean, I could just give it eyes and call it an ent. Like, the lazy ass method would literally be like, here, let's get. I don't know what the good shape is. Okay, first, yeah, I think something was wrong with my mouse button. It's a little bit more finicky than it used to be. Because it keeps like selecting and deselecting things unintentionally, which would be very difficult for you to tell because I do it intentionally all the time. That is a terrible evil eye shape. Why is my brain is not even doing this? May have picked the wrong day because my brain is not generating good art. But like, ooh, it got a sinister eye. I could make it red. Blood red eye. And I would go down here, and I would, not color effects, I would give it a filter, glow. Sure, why not? Yeah, let's match the same red, why not? This is just, lazy way is like, aha! But it has an eye, so now it's an ent. Yeah, there, I'm in Patreon chat. Thanks, Orestria. So, I think if Orestria talks, we'd be able to hear you. I think last time I made it so you could talk, Rip. Just no. Yeah, your thing's lighting up and I'm not seeing it. Interesting. Sorry guys, just a sec. I wanted to see if I could get Orestria able to talk. Admin, view channel, connect, speak. It says, yeah, it says you can speak. I don't know. Oh, so your thing's working right. I had muted Chrome because I wasn't thinking about this. So now, if you talk, we should be able to hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah. There are always a million billion moving parts. I had muted Chrome to make sure I wasn't going to accidentally double up on sound from one of the other things. I had a window that had the stream open. I've got that muted now. That's muted. Okay. Yeah, so now if we have questions, Orestria can actually pass them on to me verbally, which means I can try and continue drawing as she handles like the chat and stuff. So that's the theory anyway. So yeah, ent is a mast. I'm definitely thinking along the lines of ent is a mast, Benjamin Rogers. Anyway, we're not doing the just lazy, just stick an eye on it and call it an ent thing. But Here, let's make this a symbol. Boat. It's not a boat, it's a ship.
Meanwhile, the funny part is I have to mute you on Discord or else I can't hear anything because it's just...
Yep. So everything would double up like crazy. Get music even quieter. Yeah. If I give int, this is a different green. So hypothetically. Okay, I heard you. You're very quiet now.
It doubles up, but it's also at different timestamps.
Lovely.
What if the ent has to wake up during a fight and only then do the eyes start to glow? It says robot master.
Yeah, no, that's a solid idea. That'd be a good surprise. I'm not sure it helps much with the art part here, but the art part's always going to be the most questionable part anyway. Okay, because if we're just doing an ent without the boat, just sort of. Trying to not feel self-conscious about the art parts, because at least one or two people in chat are actual like art people, like Tom D. More art than I am. But that's okay. That's not what this is about. It's not about being really good. It's about pushing my boundaries and trying to also get faster at doing stuff. And possibly laughing at whatever I come up with. Or sort of having multiple mic problems. I just, again, when I draw in Flash, I keep drawing, I just basically keep taking, I take a shape, I stretch it out in some direction, and then I just, like, hold control and add, like, a point in the middle of a line or something to shape it however I need. We could have some curves. Maybe not put any curves in there yet, because once there are curves, they mess around. Make this branch thicker. Yeah, this thing looks terrible right now, but maybe it'll look okay later. Yeah, some snapped off sort of stumpy stuff at the top of the tree. And one. And the edge of the mast would the sails be like Storm's cape from X-Men? Maybe? Okay. Let's give him... I might... So there's like an art to making just like basic triangular evil sort of eyes, and I feel like I don't have it today. I don't know. I mean, they're just triangles. You gotta get like the right triangle. It's kind of like a forward-facing eye. The problem is, like, it should probably be facing forward, but I'm drawing this straight on from the side, like a jackass, because it's like the laziest possible method. Could try and draw it from two angles if I get it closer to done really fast. Okay, but I locked this shape. That's what's going on.
What happens to an ant when it's struck by lightning? Struck.
Well, I think what they're going for is the same thing that happens to everything else. The old X-Men 1. What passed for humor in X-Men 1. That movie did great things for the comic book movie industry, but it was also made by people, some of whom didn't give a shit about comics. Wow, I feel like this is already coming out terrible. Trying to make... There's a surprising amount of the background work and stuff like that is just trying to make things messy enough that they look like something, like a tree or a rock or whatever. A lot of it is just adding enough like geometry that it doesn't look like a perfect whatever, like a perfect lump of whatever. Actually, maybe I'll just lasso this out.
Rogers asked, would the crew be the wood creatures who fought before the goo fight in Feywild?
I mean, maybe. Briar Vexes. I don't know if the Briar Vexes care that much. If I wasn't already doing two things, I thought if it was just the pirate ship, or I thought if it came in, I thought I might have been ending up doing like an insect crew, like the Thrycreen, because that was another poll option, but they did not win. Okay, what is going on? I'm having a moment of, I don't know what I'm doing. Possibly an entire stream of, I don't know what I'm doing. It's, So one thing is, it will look a lot better. Again, remembering that these are not like the colors. These are colors that I'm picking purely just to be able to tell them apart. And then we'll go back later and we'll make real colors. Whereas... like most artists would be like trying to pick an appropriate color or something appropriate-ish first, and I'm like, that is like the least important thing when I am arting. This will look a lot more like a tree if it's got sort of this second layer back that looks, there's like the back part that you can see. Like, oh, it's kind of three-dimensional. Yeah, I think there is something wrong with my mouse. It's not wrong enough to stop me, but the left mouse button is just a little bit, like, more finicky than it should be. I don't know why I'm doing that from so far out. I should have zoomed in closer. That back branch is not good. Okay, so these branches, I just kind of threw them on there. But we are going to want them to be more... Doesn't necessarily have to be symmetric, but we want them to be more in the right places to make a decent sail, right? So here, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to chop it off. Ah! We don't like axes.
How many Babylons do you think it would take to beat Swain with or without shackles?
How many Balvons would it take to beat Swain? I don't know. Would you rather fight one duck-sized Balvon or no? Never mind. Forget it. Dumb. Yeah, so I cut off your limb. I give it back. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna put. If you're paying attention to what I'm actually doing, I'm taking this little white dot. When I select something, this is where it's going to use as the main point when I do any adjustments. So if I stick it over, if I'm here and I drag this narrower, it's going to do it around that point. Whereas if I put it over here on the edge, and now it's going to, again, it's going to like stretch it or squash it towards that point. So now this arm looks a little bit more like it's in the back. It should probably be back. Put that branch.
I think he was wondering about, like, if Swain didn't have any shackles, if he would be more defeatable.
Yeah, I don't know.
Robot Master suggests maybe the crew are termites and they corrupted the ant so we won't mind them eating it. And because it's still alive and imagine it's a near infinite food source.
That could be interesting. That's a fun one. I don't know if I'm drawing a termite crew, but we'll see. Here, I'm just gonna put a little gradient on there so it looks. Ooh, so it's like the looks a little bit more like the branch is maybe going back away. Should probably be getting darker away then, actually. No, that doesn't look. It looked better before. Do it that way. Take this branch. Let's get a straight line lasso and chop that off. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna come down on like the Swain versus Balvon thing. That's a tricky one.
Brody asks, did the necromancer little one Squish have a backstory?
No, she did not. She was just there helping out. She was like a temp necromancer. She was maybe more temporary than she planned on being. But, yeah. I don't like this. I don't like the way this one bends. Straight line. Chop this off. Bend it back this way. We'll hope this thing's not alive while I'm drawing on it, because that looks like a very painful process, the amount of chopping and stuff going on. Branch F for front. I'm gonna call this one branch B, because I might get more layers. I just happened to see in chat, someone thinks I look like the principal from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I don't know which version of Sabrina you're talking about, and I'm sure I wouldn't appreciate it if I did. But yeah, if I...
how many stackable sources of Mind Blank are there in this setting?
See, it starts getting trickier after one. Like, you could just get the spell Mind Blank. Okay, that's one. You could cast that from different sources, like you could cast that from a scroll, or you could cast it yourself, or something, but after one it starts getting hard. Generally, if you make a magic item that is permanent Mind Blank, that's a very expensive magic item, right? It's going to be at least, like, it's going to be 80,000, and honestly, it might be underpriced at 80,000 because it's such an awesome item, but I think generally if you make an item that just gives you mind blank, that would, under the circumstances, I would probably allow that to stack with the spell. Certainly if Draven made it for that purpose, it would not be difficult for him to make it stack with the spell. Because normally that's not a balance problem. It does literally nothing except when it comes to the Mind Hunters. There's no other circumstance where you need to stack more than one immunity to something. That doesn't even make sense, which is kind of why they're so scary. So I'm a little bit flexible on like what would actually work for that. Yeah. Stop. A lot of times I'm like things like shapes get selected and deselected, and it's not. I know that I select shapes and change something and then reselect them a lot normally anyway if you watch the last stream. So you can't tell when it's intentional and when it's not, but it's annoying me. Okay. So that's something we could sort of put sails on there. I mean, it's not really... It's not that tall. Could take these arms and... Superman. I don't know what Iron Giant has to do with this, but... Yeah, it's something. See, if I was lazy, I could, as happens a lot of time, if anything is not super important and foregroundy for TDDC, I am likely to, yeah.
Not Fit for Gaming asks, what's your favorite class to use as NPCs or enemies?
NPCs. I really like... I should be using more magic classes than I do in TDDC. I don't use anywhere near as many spellcasters as I should. Although part of it is that they're fragile. They have a habit of getting exploded because my players do have like overpowered gear and they do a lot of damage. But I definitely like Warblade for stuff because it's just Warblades are tough, but they also give me a lot of options for making them interesting, like giving reactions and stuff like that, and also for dealing with different circumstances. So this is, if I'm doing like a character that's not that important in TDDC or like some background stuff, just taking the same two branches and flipping them around, that's the kind of technique that I use to make something a little faster. So now we can have sort of multiple sails going on here if we start putting... I don't know how I'm going to draw the sails on these things. These should probably be longer. Skew it a little bit, and skew it up there. Turn.
Brody asked, almost a philosophical question, was Mortival the eye monster or the old man?
Was Mortival the eye monster or... So I didn't quite... or the old man. Oh, okay. I just mostly didn't hear that one completely. But, was he the eye monster or the old man? No, he was the... Well, it was basically the same. I mean, if you mean what was he originally, he was originally a human. So, the eye monster thing is one of the powers that comes from the shackles. Allows him to transform into that thing. But yeah, Mortival started out as a human. And he started out a little bit taller than that, like probably at least a foot taller than that. He is just so aged by his like immortal life without eternal youth thing that he has going on. And the players did not appreciate the mental image of fighting a naked old man. Which, you know, is understandable, but as the GM is also just funny. Okay, this thing's butt does not look good. Does it... See, I think Ents, kind of like big, thick trunk. It probably ought to be less thick up at the top. I've got stuff selected on multiple layers. If I make it... That still looks a little bit thick. That's probably much more reasonable, though. I mean, for the size of the ship, like, I'm trying to think how his body's going to work into the ship, but, yeah, geez.
Okay, but was his self-image as an eye monster or as a human? Says Wyatt Liz.
I'm pretty sure I'm still more human than you. I don't know. I don't think he was too worried about that.
Asks, have you ever actually pronounced the Fat Raj's name?
I don't know if I said it in a video. I pronounce it Manxays. That one, some names, there's a real mix, because there are a lot of names where I've got it based on something, or based on something in another language. That one is just out of my ass. Like, Manx is a word I associate with cats, and I just turned it into Manxays, because it seemed cool to me. There's a pretty, there's almost an even mix of, like, names between things that have any meaning at all, and that just sounded like the right name to me. Yeah, I don't know about this guy's base. It's looking almost like a totem pole now. Which I guess makes sense, because he's a pole.
Kennick asks if they made a helmet with passive mind blank, and then also made it so that the helmet can cast the spell on command, would that stack?
If they were making the item for that purpose, maybe, but at that point, you're like, first off, because Mind Blank lasts 24 hours, just when you're doing magic item pricing, there are different ways to price items that are based on spells, and you could say, oh, cast it once a day. That's not as expensive as at will or something like that. But if the spell lasts 24 hours, it's the same thing as having it always on, if you can cast it once a day. So I would not give any discount for that. I would treat that as the same as having it always on. The item you're describing is that you would have an always on version and a cast once per day version. Well, the cost for that, it's 80,000 for either one. And then if you want to combine them together, then you're going to pay, like based on the Magic Item Compendium, you're going to pay an extra 25%. So on the second one. So at that, or on whichever one's most expensive, in this case they're the same. But anyway, you're ending up with like a 200,000 gold item, basically. Or close. I guess it's only a 180,000 gold item, if it's 25%. I don't remember if it's 25% or 50%. But yeah, if someone was going to craft an item that expensive, and in my setting you'd need like items of power up the wazoo to make something like that, and it would take a long, like you're going to have to go on a quest to make that item anyway. If someone wants to go to all that trouble, they could do that. Yeah. What's this? So, ENTBOAT's looking okay. But, I don't know. The ship obviously needs more to be a ship. Probably needs to be bigger relative to ENTBOAT.
Ryan Larkin asks, did your players get the option to be a psionic class?
Yep. Yeah, I don't think anyone was thinking about that or was super interested in it, but I have no problem with them playing psionic classes. There is at least one psionic character in the TDDC 2 party. When we get done this arc of TDDC, and then we're going to take a sidestep there, go into the other campaign for a while. Hopefully, at some point, we'll actually play. I'll get going on, and we'll actually hopefully play a final arc for this campaign. So that when we run into the place where TDDC 2 stopped, then we can come back and complete this, and it's going to be a long time at the current rate that videos come out. It's going to be a while.
Couldn't they just make a bunch of gems with Mind Blank and then stuff them into a crown or gauntlet?
Yeah, I don't know. That's any solution like that is still going to be a horrendous amount of resources and effort. So, not super. Like, I don't think there's an easy way out of it when each one is costing at least 80,000 gold per Mind Blank, possibly more, depending on how you combine them. If you combine things together into one item that's still only taking one item slot, then it does cost more.
Bessie suggests that maybe the end sails could be made of woven vines.
Maybe. Although that does sound like it would take more detail. Okay, hold on. I'm going to duplicate this symbol. Boop. Here, so first up, I'm going to take a copy of this guy and just shove him off to the side for now. Duplicate symbol. That was a copy. When I say duplicate, it means like to add another copy to the library with a different name. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to try and mess around. If I don't like this, then I can just go back to the old one, right? Because what I'm thinking is maybe... Okay, well, whatever. If I need these...
says, we've seen 2 vampire kings with bodyguard zombies. Are they common vampire king minions, or did one king make them and the others are just copying them recently?
Those could both be the same thing. But yes, that appears to be... Whatever the spell or ritual that they use to create those bodyguard zombies seems to be a technology that has distributed and become common among them. They're just so handy. And certainly not just that as a GM I find it so handy that I can take a character that I'm trying to protect and make them tougher by including this additional unit that creates more decisions in combat for the players. Do you focus on the tank? Do you focus on the target? And when you're fighting the tanks, do you try and use some method to just take out the body directly and avoid wasting damage on a shield, or do you just not care, just attack it with everything you've got and blow through the extra 80 hit points of stupid shield arm? Okay. Yep,
Martin suggests that a spider web could maybe be cool for a sale too.
Yep.
Not for gaming asks. When Krillin first shot at your running zombie creatures and the giant death knight, what was your initial thought as a DM?
Well, so they started buffing for that, and I realized that by setting the encounter at that distance that they were going to be able to do a lot of damage first. So at that particular point, I was like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. I didn't anticipate necessarily I knew that the fight was going to be too easy when they started okay, we're gonna take them. They figured out that they could take them at max range and do a ton of damage. So okay, this fight's going to end up being an easy fight. That's fine. I didn't necessarily anticipate that they would actually be able to shred all of them before I got in a single attack. That did take me by surprise. Somewhere around the halfway mark, I'm like, oh, they're not going to make it. And the giant death knight is like, I'm going to haste now. Just try to get there. Nope, not enough.
Did you think about changing their stats on the fly or retconning anything?
Nah, I wasn't worried about that. Once we had kind of been set up, this stuff is coming. You see the clouds approaching or whatever, the dust clouds kind of concealing what's out there and stuff like that. And they're like, oh well, we can start fighting things at 1,000 feet because Krillin. And at pretty much at that point, they're I'm just gonna let this happen. They get to use it's an ability they're not going to get to use very often, that maximum range, and there's nothing wrong with letting them be heroes. That they had fun with it. It was cool. It was a cool moment. So I'm glad I didn't mess with it too much. That said, I'm not looking to have a reoccurrence of that particular problem, but we'll see. Okay, I'm trying to do something here. I've just been brain not working here. Let's just take that out. Okay. And lightning bolt.
Sentient Construct suggested a canopy of leaves for the sale.
Yep. So
and then Jackson double checked that TDC was 3.5 and then asked, how many of the rule books do you have?
How many of the rule books do I have physically? Not very many. In fact, yeah, I may have borrowed some and some PDFs of some books that I might not have anymore and stuff like that. What's funny is I have kind of all the core books for not 3.5. I have most of the other editions. I have 4th ed books lying around, but I actually am missing most of my 3.5 books at this point. I don't know what happened, because I definitely had a 3.5 PHP somewhere. I don't know how I don't have that anymore. But at the time when we were playing, I had most of that stuff memorized anyway. I can do my saving throw progression. I don't need the book. Yeah. But I justify it by, like, I bought a lot of their other books. I've got my 5th ed books. I've got like everything else. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out is if I can do a thing where my ent is kind of like one of those trees that's been split by lightning, and thus end up with kind of, instead of having 2 separate sails, have one ent be like the 2 masts. I said sails, I meant masts.
Demon Chaos asked, how would the team have fared without Krillidin's Omega Death Beams?
Oh, they would have, I am pretty sure they would have won that fight, but it would have obviously been like a fight if they had to start engaging them close up. Because it was like, I don't know, I forget the number. I think I actually like added it up and said it in the extras, but there was like at least 600 hit points worth of those guys. It was a fair amount. And the big one, he trampled for a fair amount of damage. It would have been a little unpleasant. Okay, see, I'm okay with this shape, but it's like I want the splintery parts to be on the inside, I think. The other one I've got fairly straight on the inside. I take this, straighten it out, then horizontal flip, and I'll put it back at an angle, and that's it. I don't know if that's better. And honestly, if they're using it as like the masts, how splintery can it be? Probably not super splintery. It could be shreddery. It could be super shreddery. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2-ness.
Robot Master asks, have you ever used an evil adventuring party using similar composition and tactics to the PCs?
Have I ever done that? I'm sure I have done that in other stuff that I've DM'd other than TDDC. But I mean, if I'd done it in relation to TDDC, it hasn't happened yet, and I wouldn't tell you about it if it was going to happen, so... But I have done that in the past, I'm sure. At like an evil party sort of thing. I have not done the literal mirror... I don't think I've done the literal mirror image where it's like, oh no, you have to fight literal evil versions of yourselves, and that's... It seems annoying, because they're going to have the same ability as you, and, like, it's much more interesting, like, philosophically than it is, like, to actually run the combat of mirror match. And, like, how do you balance it? Usually, like, in video games and stuff like that, usually you end up fighting a mirror match where they're exactly like you, but crappier, so that you win, because you're the hero and you're supposed to win.
Ryan asks, how often do you get to play D&D these days?
Not often, but we're still having game night every Tuesday. It's just we were trying to do a little D&D for a while, and then we've just been like, yeah, we got all these virtual board games, and we've been enjoying doing that. And then we played Borderlands 2 for a while, which was not a virtual board game. That was shooting things, which was very different for us. And then now we're messing around with Divinity Original Sin 2, which has co-op, so that's fun too. This does not look great. Okay, one of the things I need to do is I've got to separate this out to a different layer. If I'm going to try and make this work. Let's take that, put it over here. Because now... boy, words failing me. Trunk. Trunk is the word I'm looking for. Not that the names of the layers matter. Trunk B. Oh, what? I didn't try and put a space in there, you piece of junk. You added the space when I accidentally mashed the space bar. whoops. Because I think I need this thing to have a little bit of that extra thickness on the bottom, but what I split it off to do is that I want it to be like a lighter color. Which again, we'll pick a brown, like a lighter, we'll make this a brown, and we'll make this a lighter brown, and this a darker brown, and we'll do that stuff later. If I do it now, like, I don't know if I'm going to keep these colors or what, and I'll have a better idea at the end. Stick that back in there. That actually lined up surprisingly well, almost too well. Saved the city too many times. I kind of I like the theoretical idea of this. I'm not sure I like the actual result as much. Let me stretch these out. The wishbone thing. I'm not sure this is a winner, honestly. It's interesting, but I'm not sure it's good.
Brody asks if this was the first fight that this Deathmore had with his powers.
This one, yes. Yeah, he was a total noob. Probably not a great choice, honestly. Cornello just doesn't seem to have the same quality of, like, network for finding new people that the more established kings have. Presumably a lot of the old lieutenants died when Rygax and his friends took out Vladimir. It's amazing how much depth you get just from adding, like, another color. Like, oh my god, it looks like 10 times more of a thing.
Ben wants to know, how long do you spend on planning? I assume he means for, like, running.
For running the game. I mean, it varies. Generally too long. I am way more biased towards over-planning. That's one of the things I want to try and do sometime is I've got an idea for a much more improv-based game, and I made a simple rule set that is just, yes, I realize I'm describing making my own rules, thus over-planning for improv. But despite that, I made a set of very simple RPG rules that are based way more on everyone doing improv, on me as a GM doing improv, but also as the players. They're not going to be as differentiated. It's not going to be as tactical as D&D at all. But the idea is that they can just try and do whatever, try and solve problems however they want to try and solve the problems, and we'll just have a simple system for adjudicating. Does it work, or does it screw up? Something's trying to kill you. How are you going to avoid dying? Okay, make a roll. Oh, that's not good. Or you're going to get injured now. It's hopefully not bad. We'll want to try that out at some point. This one should be the darker color, probably. I don't know. I can't decide if wishbone tree thing is better than, like, single tree thing. It does seem like it needs an additional, like, mass the other way. This is weird. I mean, I like the idea, okay? I was experimenting. I like the idea of the split mass, but is it actually better? Like, because I can just switch it back to that one. This one definitely looks too small now. Split end is weird. Oh, yeah. I don't know. What am I making? Can't decide. Racked with indecision.
Rocker Nova Star Nova asks, Little One's dad seems very friendly with dragons. Can we expect to learn more about that?
He's friendly with dragons. I am hoping we're going to get to learn more about him later, but it's not going to happen right now. It's not going to happen in this particular arc. I am really bad about like putting out and having ideas, but they're always like in the future. At some point, I'm going to run out of future.
Not Fit for Gaming asked both of us, what was the worst character in your mind that you played?
Worst character that I like. I'm not sure of the context. I mean, a character that I played that I didn't like how it went was when I was in university in Ottawa. There was a gaming store at the university, and the guy there was gonna GM. We were gonna play a Birthright campaign. I wasn't super into the system, but like, sure, whatever. D&D, right? I'll play some D&D. And then, so I made the character who was, this was like old school D&D. This was like second ed or something, like, I think. But she was like a prudish, like, martial artist woman. And for whatever reason, the GM felt that we should encounter some satyrs, and she failed a saving throw against their thing. So early on in her existence as a character, she got satirized in a fashion that I would consider inappropriate, and I didn't appreciate that a whole lot. That kind of put me off on the character and the campaign, understandably, I think. It's like, this is not the vision I had in mind for my character, and I don't know why you would go in that direction. Indecision. Alright, well, duplicate symbol. Boat 2. What happens if I try and... This is something I was thinking I should maybe try and do. What if I try and make the boat not straight on directly just from the side like a jackass would draw, like I start out? Oh, this is... Oh, okay. Stretching it in this fashion does not work at all. That is apparently not the way to do what I was thinking of. We're just going to turn that layer into an outline for now and lock it and not deal with it for a while. Okay. Draw a new boat. An even dumber color. Try and make it so that the boat is coming towards us more. Oh, God, stop grabbing whatever the hell is... What the... Okay, you are trying to lock shit onto that... Oh, my God... That's what happened. It put stupid outlines on. When I create a new shape, there is a 0% chance that I ever want it to have a stroke. If I wanted to put on a stroke, I would hit S and then click the shape, and then it will put an outline on it. But like the white, because the yellow is already so bright, the white wasn't standing out against it, even though the white is like obviously different to all of you. But like, I do not ever want a stroke around a shape that I draw. I draw a shape because I want a shape, and it was messing up my, like, selection. Because if we have our aft castle is over there. And that's... Boy, that is a straight line, and it does not even look like a straight line to me because my perception is being thrown off by my angular, weird, like, split tree sail thing. Okay, so we got an angle like that. Yeah. Coming towards us more. And to reposition that stuff. But the side profile of the ship, if it goes... I was trying to visualize... I am both really good and really bad at visualizing things. I'm really good at those tests that I do in engineering in high school. They'd be like... Here is a shape, a three-dimensional shape. Here are two sides of it. Draw this in isometric view, or just draw like the third side. And I was really good at extrapolating out from that. Like, have that kind of like spatial perception really good. And I'm great at, like, I imagine stuff pretty well, I think. But I have a hard time in translating what I imagine into actual real-world shapes. That is not as easy. And the perspective on this is going to be weird and messed up because it's not straight lines. Oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? It's just got to be like a straight part here. We got forecastle. Comes up. So let's say hypothetically we were going to go do that. And come up behind. And we're going to have like a... Oops. See, I locked it, and then I wanted it again. I should have copied it before I locked it. So we take this. We're going to have... This is going to be like the back side, which we're not even going to be able to see most of. I'm just doing it to figure out the shape in my head. Pick another color that is probably terrible. Like, that's a part of that spectrum that is probably not good. About this behind the
Robot
mast.
Master asks if the split mast could be used as a giant slingshot.
Sure, why not? Seems like as good a plan as any. I mean, what purpose is it serving other than just looking weird? But then it would be a slingshot. So I take... No, that's... Okay, so wait, if that's lined up, it's going to be like that. The mast is not going to be in this position either. It's got to be forward of that. I was just trying to figure out the shapes. I am causing myself pain. Why didn't I just keep it in the stupid, like, side view like a jackass? So much easier. Oh, the perspective is going to be terrible. So I should draw a vanishing point somewhere, because that's how perspective works. But that's not what I do. You'd think I would like that, but it's making me feel awkward. The thing is, I could zoom out really far if I wanted to put a vanishing point. What does a vanishing point say? Vanishing, like... That should be another layer, obviously. To actual perspective, you would do a point where stuff vanishes, and you can draw lines from there, which would be super easy in the computer. I never do this for anything. Okay, so first off, I gotta get lock on. So I lock to that point, and then I draw out lines from that point. So, based on this, on trying to actually do a perspective thing. Okay, now let's lock this. We're going to call this vanishing. Stick it at the top, who cares? So, based on that, obviously my shapes are wrong. Which makes sense. Being wrong makes sense. Now, I don't know if that vanishing point is actually where I want it to be. But... I don't know if that's where I want the line to be. Okay, so we're going to take down here. So if we do that, then this hull, which is locked, this should come down like this. And then is this line actually where I want the... Say I want it to be there for the top of... The aft castle and the forecastle should probably not be the same size. But just for the sake of whatever the hell I'm doing here, let's say they are. And let's say that the aft castle goes straight down, which I've actually seen in ships before. It wasn't my plan, but let's simplify the design a little bit while we're trying to make this work. We do that.
Robot Master asks, does gunpowder and by extension cannons exist in the TDDC setting? And if not, that's what a giant slingshot could be used for.
Well, the thing is, if this is a boat for water, and I think it is, then this is not really gonna... They're not gonna have access to gunpowder. But as people are pointing out, I did a lore stream on an area of the Fey sky, and if it turns out if you go high enough up into the Fey sky, there is a substance that they can use to make gunpowder that does work. It's based partly on the sort of innate magic of the plane there. So if you take those, so they can have cannon up there, but if you bring them down to the ground, even in the Feywild, they don't work anymore. Of course, if you fire something down, it's still going to go down and then hit something very hard, so that probably works. Unless it doesn't. Okay, so hold on. So I got this line here. These points need to line up with it. If I'm perspectivizing properly. Oh my god. I need two sets of vanishing points, don't I? I never did the hard work part of art class, okay? It's amazing I make any art at all. I learned these techniques in, like, grade 9. I'd never used them. I have no goddamn clue. Because I just realized I probably need at least a second vanishing point. This one would have to be incredibly far down, though. Can I even zoom out that far? I don't think I can even zoom out far. I have to push something down that far before to let me even go down that far. Because say this is... That's not really what I want. Do I want the aft castle to be straight up the back-ish? Hold on. Just give me a sec. You guys. No! That was an accidental deselect. Okay. We're on locking mode, so if I do that, that should be a straight line. Oh my god, nothing looks like a straight line. I'm looking at my screen at an angle, and then, like, everything... The human eye does not like figuring out straight lines and stuff, because your perception is affected by what things are next to. It's a good thing that I have a computer to right anglify stuff. So if I do that, where the aft castle, and I make the aft castle a straight line with that, which already my like straight aft. Oops. Okay, I hate that when I zoom in, where it tries to center on isn't necessarily where I want, unless I've got something selected. So this would be...
Can I ask what race is most likely to sing about doing horrible things, or sing while doing horrible things?
I mean, does singing count as one of the horrible things? No, I... Who's more like... See, I should think about what, like, races sing about and stuff like that all the time. But I don't know. I don't see the drow as singing. I think I saw somebody mention drow up there. I don't think the drow do a lot of singing. I think the drow are quiet. That seems like kind of their thing. I mean, dwarves will sing about anything, but are they going to be doing a horrible thing? Oh, the dwarves do some horrible things. They're pretty neutrally sort of people, honestly, if we're going with the shitty alignment system. But yeah, because they're conflicted people. They are both greedy and generous and all those, like, they have a lot of contradictions going on. But some of the dwarves do pretty nasty stuff to each other in their generally commercial sort of rivalries. Okay, so...
Have any of the vampire kings dabbled with elementals or other summoned creatures as lieutenants? Asks Brody.
Well, no, I think normal elementals are still not intelligent, so you wouldn't really be taking them as lieutenants. But I mean, if they could get a hold of one of the elemental-ish sentient things, like djinns, afrits, that kind of thing, I'm sure they would be great if they could convince them to be a party to their stuff. These vertical lines... Oh my god. I did not expect to be doing this degree of, like, mathematical adjacent bullcrap when I decided to do any of this. What is going on? What time is it? It's 8. Okay. Been going for 1 hour. I gotta try and get this... Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's 9 or X, but what is the difference between an elemental and a spirit?
They're more elemental. I mean, they actually do have a different nature, but I think we're getting, like, philosophical there more than I normally think about, probably. Okay, I think one of my problems is this back deck here is getting... some of my things are trying to snap to stuff that I don't care about right now. I'm like, just follow the lines, and it doesn't want to follow the lines. Zoom into there. Yeah, I don't know if I've got a good answer for that. I mean, spirits... Well, spirits exist on the astral plane, and elementals are more... I guess they're tied to the ley lines, but I mean, they don't have to be where the ley lines are, although they like it more. Their power does seem to be tied to the ley lines as opposed to tied directly to the astral sea.
Is there an equivalent to the KT in the Shadowfell, and if so, what are they like? Asks DemonaCast.
Yeah, I don't think there's another race that is dominating the oceans in quite the same way. Honestly, the oceans in the Shadowfell are not as friendly to being civilized. I realize it's weird to call what the Kuo-toa do civilized, but they are definitely a civilization, and it'd be much harder to get started as a civilization. It's just like it'd be much more harder if humans had coexisted with dinosaurs. It would have been a lot harder for us to get a civilization going, because they keep stepping on stuff and eating things. That's kind of how it is in the oceans of the Shadowfell. It is unpleasant. So take this over here. Here, let's hide the mast. I should label that layer mast. Because now with the vanishing lines, this thing should actually... It's going to have a different angle being at the back. That it's got to match up with... Alright. Okay. Letting it be the same color was a mistake. And then if I want to draw a straight line across here. The thing is, I'm trying to make all these straight lines, and then the objective is not to have straight lines at the end. Because I'm going to want to, like, change it, but I have to figure out where things are going to be. Which is definitely not the smartest process to engage in when I'm trying to do, like, quick art that's supposed to be done, like, an hour from now. Why do you not want to lock onto the point, you stupid thing? Lock onto the vertex. You just want to snap to anywhere on that line like an asshole. Why?
So just for the record, we're basically seeing a black screen, and we can see your mouse moving on it, but we can't really see, which are frustrating you.
When did it go to... How long has it been like that?
A while.
That makes no sense. What the... I wish I'd heard that earlier. No, okay. It's gonna do the intro again. Stupid thing. I don't know why it's not showing on that view. Like, it must be treating the drawing window as separate from the main flash window, which is moronic. God damn it. You guys saw some of the stuff I was drawing earlier, though, right?
Yeah, we saw the ship and the masts, and then when you started to drawing, like, perspective, I guess that's when we've been having trouble seeing.
That's so weird. Yeah, I can see what's on the screen now. I was sure I had seen it on the preview before. What the hell? Yeah, this is a different view that's not as great, because A, my camera's in a different spot, and B, yeah, it's not showing the whole thing necessarily so much. I don't know. That is perplexing, but I gotta get back to drawing. I'm trying to... This mess. We're hoping that somehow in the next hour I can turn this mess into a thing. Zoom in closer here. Get the actual corner. I think that's close enough. So then... my back hull... Okay, I didn't go far enough. No, stop that. Should line up to, like, there? And this point actually... Hold on. Lock. I do not normally draw this much, like, perspective stuff. That's why I just, like, pick an angle and do it, like, by my gut. This seems like the stupidest possible time to start caring about such things. Slide. Whoops. Okay, fuck. Okay, well, I'm using F word now. That was excellent. I'm not used to drawing with a bunch of people around. One of the things that, if you knew me, I like to swear at my computer. I don't know if I like to swear at my computer. I really swear at my computer. I don't, like, swear at people in real life. Unless you count, like, swearing at politicians on a video or something. They can't hear me. But, like, man, do I swear at my computer. If my computer were a person, I would be a terrible, terrible person. If my computer were able to, like, hear my insults and understand them. Okay. This line's not matching up right either. There we go. So, man, this looks so weird to me. I'm copying my straight line here because I want it to remain parallel. Oh my god, is it not snapping to the... There are too many things for it to snap to. It's not like doing it the way I want. Really, you can't find the corner there? Okay. And then I need another one of these across here. Okay. So if I lock down this auras vert. I normally have more layers visible too, but then I'm like filling your screen with stupid layers. What the? Why is this separated from the... Okay. I bet that's what happened. Somehow that got separated out. Yeah, okay. Somehow I dragged that window and popped it out. Because I could do that. I can take one of these like things and put it on a different monitor for all that matters. That's what happened when I pulled that out by accident. I never even noticed that I did because it was in like the same place. When I move the layers up and down, it should like go with it. Yeah, okay. Anyhow, so now with all this stupid structure in place, I should be able to make the back half of the hull here sort of... Oh yeah, I need another vertical line. I hope this is exciting. The questions have dried up. Because I need a line going through there. Need another one.
I mean, people are talking, it's just not in the form of a question.
Yep.
Like Nick says, pirate ship was my idea, I may have broken DemonaCast, and Robot Master says you could have avoided the perspective stuff if you'd flipped a coin between Ent and ship, or stuck with side view.
Yep. No, I could have just stuck with the side view. That is inarguable. But like the side view was the lazy way, right? Can't do that on a stream, even though I should have. Okay. So that's... Oops. Yeah, lock that again. Okay, so this... Where's my vertex? Why is it not showing? Oh. Wow, I went out of the image. Okay. So that's... I'm not appreciating that, like, it seems kind of arbitrary when it decides whether or not these lines should, like, count for snapping to points and not. Okay, I need another horizontal... Everything just requires another line. Everything is another line.
How possible is it to permanently change your race? Is it even possible to do that thoroughly enough for it to stick in a dead magic zone?
That does not come up very often.
My first reaction was Wishspell.
Yeah. No, Wishspell would totally do it. But, yeah, I don't know how often that kind of stuff comes up. Not something I've thought about. But one of the things, if you ask me a question and I just haven't thought about it, sometimes it becomes something that I think about, and then later on gets turned into something. So, there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think I have a super useful answer to that there. I mean, there are lots of radical changes that happen that aren't exactly changing race that are pretty permanent. The changes that some of the lieutenants go through when they get some of the shackle powers can be pretty, like, permanent. I'm joining the wrong part there, like a dumbass. Okay, I need to lock that layer
Did you
again.
ever rebalance the Bane KT thing that Black used to all but one-shot the KT monitor?
I rebalanced it out of existence. Yeah, it was apparently a miracle because it doesn't happen anymore. I don't know how it decides what it will snap to and what it won't, because the part of the process seems to be what do I want it to snap to, and then don't do that. Otherwise, it's mostly arbitrary. Sorry. Yeah.
Chip asks, what's the most amount of players you have ever had in a game?
I don't think I've run a game with more than 5 players. If I did, it was not for very long. I'm more of the, like, small number of friends type of person anyway. Rather have a few close friends than, like, a million people I barely know. Okay.
What is the most common form of undead in the Shadowfell?
Zombies. Not very exciting. There do seem to be a lot of zombies. Okay, gotta figure out which side of this do I want to be on? Oh my god, stop zooming to the wrong parts. Okay, so I need it to come through here. Okay, so now I need to zoom out. And I need to connect this to my vanishing point 1,000 miles down without accidentally snapping it to a stupid place on one of the other ones. Ding. Okay. Did that work? That didn't look like it worked. That looked like you bastard. What are you doing? Why would you do that?
If Black would have used his Belt of Battle, could he have one round KO'd the Monitor on his own?
I don't remember what his Belt of Battle was doing in that battle.
How many total in history Vampire Kings have there been? Like counting ones who've been killed and replaced.
I haven't 100% decided that, but I'm definitely leaning towards just the 5 current ones plus Vladimir. I'm not sure that any other Vampire Kings have existed and then disappeared. There have been other vampires. There have been lots of other vampires. Okay, this time it didn't eat my line. There's a lot of work to go to just to make this stupid line.
Have you ever played one of the Warhammer RPGs? And if so, what's your opinion of them?
I haven't actually played any of their RPGs. I mean, I've played a bunch of, like, their Citadel Miniatures games. Played little bits of 40K. I played a bunch of Necromunda, Blood Bowl. Played a little Talisman. A lot of their games, especially Talisman, suffer from the problem that they're full of, like, way too much RNG. They're very, very randomness-based, often to the point that it overwhelms strategy. But I haven't played any of their RPGs, no.
Joe asks, can you fill us in on what's been going on in the Fadelands while the party's away, or would that be spoilers?
I mean, that sounds like spoilers. I just realized if I want to move this closer together, that changes all my lines. So, But the ship's like, okay, whatever. Apparently the ship's just super wide. Get back to where you were. Yep, it's just super friggin' wide. Which is all... it's gonna be terrible. You know, honestly, the thing is, it shouldn't be, like, flat at the front like this. I was just doing that to, like, get the general shape, because it actually should be coming to a point It's not like a troop carrier. Okay, you know what? Maybe it's like a troop carrier, and it's just got a flat front that it can, like, drop down to load and offload cargo. Does that make sense? Yeah. Alright. Oh my god, did I do that one up to the wrong line too? I sure did.
If you could become an undead, would you do it? And if so, what kind would you be?
Well, I mean, it heavily depends on what kind I would be. 'Cause I am very in favor of living forever. There are levels of survival I am willing to accept. On the other hand, you know, there are like, what would be too shitty for immortality? I can think of some things. Not super fond with the idea of, like, having to eat people or... God damn it! Select properly, you piece of crap! Driving me nuts. Okay. So, I gotta put it there. I don't know why. Everything wants to snap the wrong parts of everything. Like, snap... The point of making this grid of lines is that you should always be snapping to the vertex, not some random-ass point along a line, you idiot. Again, way more polite than I normally am to my computer.
Are the Vampire Kings the only beings that have been known to bind spirits with shackles?
It sure seems that way. Unless, I mean, maybe they got it from somewhere, like the Earthbenders learned it from the Badger Moles or whatever, but I think they seem to be the only ones who are known for doing it. Okay, so I need to move this vertical line.
Are there only dragons in the Fadelands?
No, there are dragons in other places.
Dragons, wyverns, or...
Oh, there's lots of that stuff. They're in different places. You find more like wyverns and stuff like that. Probably more in the Feywild, but I think there are probably some of them all over there. There definitely are dragons in other planes, although they seem to have thrived more. Like, there isn't like a big vampire civilization in the other planes. That seems to have happened more in the Fadelands, just by chance, I guess. Or seemingly by chance. But there are definitely individual dragons in all of the planes.
Sentient Construct asks, how much of the Raj's backstory did you have figured out when you introduced them?
When I introduced them, not as much. It was much more of a feel for them than actual detail that I had ironed out at that time. Okay, so theoretically, if I start laying planks across from ship to ship now, it should actually line up, unlike before when it was stupid. So I take this... Okay, actually... Oh my god, it did it! Stop with the outline! I never want the outline. There's no situation where I ever want to draw a rectangle and have an outline come on it. I wish I could somehow communicate that to this stupid program. Okay, this is a fresh thing.
Says it's kind of weird that 4 Vampire Kings learned spirit shackling at the same time. Did one learn and show the others like they used to be friends, or did somebody else, like an evil god, teach them?
I am eventually going to get the story of like how the Vampire Kings started. I haven't gotten very far into working on that yet, but yeah, that's going to be in a video. You will eventually find that out. Okay, so this line's not even going to be visible. I don't even know why I'm bothering trying to draw that. Forget it. I'll just put the actual top on properly. Ah! No! Why is that layer unlocked? Lock you.
That suggested that the front of the ship could be an Ent's mouth.
An Ent's mouth. Maybe? I don't know.
Jackson asks, related to becoming undead and living forever, would you upload your brain into a computer akin to GLaDOS but less evil if that technology became available in your lifetime?
Yeah, no, all of that is like 100%. It's very obvious, yes, except you have to prove to me that you're actually transferring the consciousness, not... Because when you do a move operation on a computer, like a computer, you have a computer file. You can copy a file and then paste it somewhere, but the original's still there. I don't want you doing that with my consciousness. I don't want to make more of me. I want this me to be immortal. Well, when you do a move operation on a computer, that's actually copy, confirm, then delete. That's what happens when you move a file. It doesn't take each bit and like transfer it over. So you would have to somehow convince me that my consciousness is actually being transferred as opposed to copied, then deleted. Because, just like with a transporter in Star Trek, if you transport me somewhere, you are creating a perfect copy of me over there, but the version of me that stepped onto the transporter pad is just being disintegrated and is dead. Now, the new copy doesn't know that, so everything continues as normal, and for all your friends, you're still there. Hooray! I don't give a shit. I want to live forever, not like I'm not so vain that I want there to be a me forever. The only reason I want there to be a me forever is because I want to be that me forever. Pretty clear. So all the questions about immortality is like, there's a degree of like, what am I giving up? What am I losing? Do I have to hurt people? Because I'm not in favor of that stuff. But mostly it's just, does this procedure actually result in me living longer, my consciousness, because that's the actual me, continuing, or is this just some stupid vanity exercise of like cloning myself and copying my brain so that you reactivate one whenever one dies? That doesn't help the one that died. That one's dead. I don't want to be the dead one. So, yeah. That's pretty much how all those things go. Most fiction that has forms of immortality has severe problems with that. There are usually some holes in there. You basically have to have magic involved to convincingly prove that it's actually continuity and not just like copies. Okay, picking more bad colors. Doesn't matter what the color is, it just has to be different. Occurs to me that this level of hull needs to be higher in the hierarchy.
Knight asks, is it possible in current times for the orcs to reorganize like in their prime before they became as they are now? And second one, has there been any orc lieutenants?
If the orcs got organized, they would be a very powerful force. They wouldn't be much like when they organized the original time, because when they first organized, there were kind of two modern type orcs. The Varharan and his lieutenant Jarmargar. They were both much more like the modern orcs. In fact, they were actually like incredibly powerful in the same way that modern orcs are. Like a template for what orcs could be, like the best that orcs could be. But most of them were garbage, and they were like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them. There are not sure exactly how many orcs there are. There are actually more of them in Gruul than in desert, because more food sources, that's what happens. But still, if you got all the orcs together, it wouldn't be that big an army. But it would be an effective army if you could get them all on the same page for something. So, I think there was another part of the question that I already forgot. Maybe there wasn't. I don't know. Whatever. Random colors. Who cares? It's warm here. Oh my god, it's almost 8:30. I don't know how I'm going to finish this. Yes. A lot of time drawing the boaty part, not as much time drawing the Enti part. Of course, if it was a very old Ent, it could be featured on Antiques Roadshow. Only this would be more of an Antiques boat show. So, with that horrible pun underway, so we now have sort of a boat shape. This is a really crappy boat shape, because it really should be coming to like rounded up to a point and like hydrodynamic and stuff. I can still probably do that. Oh, I remember the other part of your question was there any orc lieutenant? I was making a list of lieutenants at some point, and an orc did come up. His name is Carv. K-A-R-V. Like most lieutenants, not really someone you want to mess with. I don't know how to properly shape... Okay, hold it. Duplicate symbol. Before I mess it up, we can call this boat 2A. All my file names end up being horribly like boat 3A full, boat 3B wide, or something like they all end up being terrible file names. But anyway, so okay, I can't.
Chip.
Yep.
Chip asks, "Are the Vampire Kings the only superpower in the Shadowfell?"
Nope. You can tell that they're not, because they're only on one continent. Now, that's not to say that the other continents each have a superpower that rules them, but there are definitely some other significant powers, at least. I mean, I know the main reason the vampires are only on one continent is actually because they're vampires and they don't cross oceans very well, but there's a lot of space left in the plane, and there are definitely others. Also, we're just talking about the surface of the Shadowfell. I mean, the Drow are a huge superpower in the Underdark, and there are other pretty significant powers in the Underdark. Okay, so this is the line I need for that. Maybe color it. And then I need... Oh, it's hurting my head. It's so bad. Why did I ever... Why did I think trying to isometric boat was a good plan? Is this the middle? I don't even know. Something resembling the middle. We're gonna do that. I'm gonna have to mostly eyeball the prow.
Robot Master suggests maybe the whole ship is just the head of an Ent who's giant and walking along the ocean floor.
I like that. I don't think that's what's going on, but I have a great fondness for things that don't GAF, that can just like walk across the ocean floor. So I'm oh shit, that's why this is messing up, because it's on the same layer as that. Sorry. But yeah, I'm also pretty fond of things that are just like huge and badass, so there's a lot to be said for that idea. Also just things that have like a weird, things that are like, that have a weird head. I used to make a lot of like Lego, I'd take Lego men and I'd like replace their head with like a long brick, and I declared that it was a gun. They're cyborgs now. So there's also some appeal to like Boathead. I don't think this needs to line up with the vertical line that I have there. I think that's a different thing. It's unrelated. But I gotta eyeball this sort of proud.
The element of this asks, who is your favorite bad guy that you've introduced to the party so far?
I usually like a lot of them, like when I'm doing them, and then I don't know. They're all often not intended to be like recurring, so I'm realistic about my expectations of recurring. Usually they're not going to recur, so I don't know if I get too attached. Yeah, I don't know. I'm also not great with questions about favorites. You should try like my favorite music and stuff like that. You will be amazed at how disappointing the answers are. Like, you have no idea how uninteresting I can be when you ask me for favorites. There's no limit to my power of not being interesting in that respect.
Chip asks, Super Orcs in their prime versus Vampire Kings. Who wins?
Mostly I would say vampire, like, take most of the best Super Orcs through history, Vampire King wins no problem. The only ones where it really matters are the ones we mentioned, the Varharan and Jarmargar. The Varharan literally had the some fragment of the power of Delvosh behind him. And Jarmargar was no slouch. He was like, you know how there was like in Harry Potter, there were 2 boys that it could have been? And then Voldemort was going to like, okay, well, I'll take them out. And he'd like, I'll take out Harry. And then like, whoops, that effed up. Well, there were 2 possibilities for Delvosh's like orc warlord. There were 2 choices. The second one was Jarmargar, and he didn't end up being chosen. But he's also the one who killed the Eladrin king. So he was like not kidding around. This shape looks terrible. I don't know how to fix it. Probably by adding more of a point on the end there. And this whole thing, it just looks like I'm giving it like the front of a whale, which I don't really think is correct. You know what the issue is, actually? The straight line here does win, because there's going to be like a water line somewhere. I mean, water's going to be coming up a little bit, but oh my god. This is killing me. I don't know what's going on. Also, where's your point? God damn it. Where is your vertex?
Jackson asks, do you ever think of other world settings that you want to try running, somewhere not connected to TVDC's setting, or are you content to stick with the 3-plane world for the time being?
So the 2 things are like, one, if I think of a D&D setting, often it ends up like the Feywild one in the lore stream. Often I like think of some ideas for a place, and then I'm like, yeah, my world's big enough. Can I fit that into the lore? I'd rather just like fit that into the lore. That's cool. It's like a whole other area up there. So there's that. And then other ideas I have that tend to be more like, they tend to be less D&D based. I'm probably more interested not so much in running games in them as like writing stories. Like I would like to do a bunch of like anime series if we had like a studio that would like do most of the work for me, so I could be like the creator and sit in the writer's room, but have like a writer's room and like an art staff, and then they'd come back with things, and I'd like give them more ideas. Then I would make all kinds of stuff. I've got like a steampunk setting, a steampunk that I want to do a story in. I've got a space opera that I want to do. It's like a little bit Firefly, Outlaw Star-ish sort of thing, and I can come up with ideas. Like, ideas are the easy part. Making things is the hard part. See, this probably should come up. Oh, I need to put like an actual pointy point on this thing. Ew. Oh, that was the line. That was the outline color, not the actual color. Sorry, go on.
The Wheatley asks, can you tell us who lives on the dragon continent in the Shadowfell?
Yeah. I was gonna say dragons, but then you added in the Shadowfell. Well, there are two dragon continents in the Feywild. Yeah, I don't think I can divulge that information at the moment. Sorry.
Brody asks if the Shadowfell and Feywild are like a mirror. Is there something that resembles the Vampire Kings in the Feywild? And Martin suggested Fey Kings or Fey Queens.
Yeah, nothing really that. Nothing mirrors quite that closely. Like it's like the features of the plane tend to mirror, but the inhabitants not necessarily. The thing is, stuff in the Shadowfell tends to be there's a strong tendency for things that drain the life from other things, or things that are like hidden and concealed. That's just kind of the nature of the plane. Whereas the Feywild is very different. It has much more of a tendency for things that are free-flowing and things that are bright. Not necessarily bright in ways that you can see, but bright in a magical sense. Oh god, do I need more lines to make the prow? I don't want more lines. I need to finish this. going to come to a very abrupt end in about... I'm going to have to start, like, wrapping up in, like, 10 minutes or something. Not wrapping up the stream necessarily, but, like, trying to wrap up the drawing and get it to start, like, okay, we're just going for broke. Finish it off as quickly as possible. So it's not really what I had in mind for the boat. Okay. We're going to save. We're going to duplicate this in case I need to go back, although I'm probably not.
You could always make the art like to be continued.
No, that's too much. I want to do a new. I'm only going to be doing an art stream every month or two, and I want to make a different thing every time. Vote on it every time. Pushing my boundaries is the idea, not spending forever on things. So, yeah, try and wrap it up. Actually, I don't need to keep these lines. Oh, I do need these lines. Okay, change. Just hide them for now.
Homie Knight asks, do aboleths exist in your world at all with any history or story relations, or are they just powerful, rare monsters?
I was just thinking a little bit of aboleths the other day. They definitely don't have the same, like, the same story stuff that they have in the traditional D&D setting, because if you know, like, fancy aboleth stuff, they're from, like, a previous universe. Like, not even necessarily the previous universe. They're from, like, a previous universe that ended, and they were still there when this one started. That doesn't fit with my view of, like, the the planes and the continuity, but I don't think I have any grand aboleth stuff going on. Certainly to reveal right now. Ah, this looks terrible. Why does this look terrible? It's so bad. It's so bad.
Martin asks, do worms, as in dragon spirits, exist?
Dragon spirits? Yeah, I'm not familiar with worms being looked at in, like, worm being used in that sense, so I'm not sure exactly what you're referencing. I mean, spirits of dragons could, like, there could be a dragon's ghost. Like, the dragons have souls. Something happens to those souls when they die. They could go away where they're supposed to, or they could not. You could end up with a dragon ghost or a Draco Lich or something like that. But, and I'm sure there are definitely some spirits that resemble dragons. Whether they have any actual connection to dragons or not is an open question. This thing is hurting my head. Because there's supposed to be like a point that's gonna come up higher and... Okay, now I gotta start making some efforts to get this thing finished. I think I might have to ditch this point. We're just gonna hide that. Hide our shame. Because it was not working. So, boat is going to need some stuff. Yeah, I'm calling it left. I know there's a boat term for left. I don't care.
Kedic asks, so that thing Swain did with shunting the party into the plane of shadows, did that cause plane lock because of the plane of shadows? Because the plane of shadows contents can only empty into one plane per source.
Not really. The plane lock is a part of the spell itself. Although, since, I mean, I guess it's hard to tell correlation versus causation, since normally you can't go into the plane of shadow like that. So, a very small sample size of things that can result in you being in the plane of shadow if you aren't literally a undead shadow. Or just, like, energy. Hurting myself. Okay, let's just start tacking on some details. We need, okay, give me back my vanishing lines.
Christian asks, does the party run across any Eldritch Knights throughout the campaign?
I mean, again, that falls into the category of thing where it's either a no or a spoiler, so it's not like I'm gonna give a good answer to that question. Like, okay, so that's a straight line there.
Wyvern Lord asks, if Pydaleg Castle has been in its location for centuries, shouldn't there be a castle-like place in the other planes in that location?
I'm pretty sure there's a large city there in the other plane. I'm not sure that there's a castle quite this. There's definitely not a castle shaped the same. But okay. But yeah, there's something there. Oops.
Benjamin asks, thematically, does the Feywild represent chaos to the Shadowed Fell's order?
Yeah, no. I described a bunch of things that they have that are sort of like mirroring and stuff like that, but I really don't care about alignments enough to try and set up things like that. The alignment system just doesn't strike me as that interesting. Certainly not to base whole planes off of.
Alexander asks, would the Vampire Kings join forces to kill the Vampire Hunter in the group?
Well, there's been a lot of speculation about that for some reason. I don't know why, on the Discord. But I don't know if that's a question that can be answered. I think it probably depends on the circumstances. They definitely have no love for for Ragax. None of the Vampire Kings are fans of Ragax and his continued existence. And we know at least 2 of them very much don't like the party right now. But what would actually happen? Yeah, that's going to depend, isn't it? The Vampire Kings are not big fans of each other either at this point. Were they ever friends? But they're not super friendly now. They are very much competitors. Just trying to put a railing on here.
Chip wants to know how you came up with the Astral Flag, and if Draven still has the Astral Flag after the spring.
Yeah, that sounds like a question. It's, well, how did I come up with it? I don't know. It just seemed like the thing to do. But oh, okay. I guess I really did make that thing red, eh? But, yeah, as for does he still have it, well, that sounds like something we're going to find out definitely in the next episode. Because I'm sure the question is on his mind, too.
Kennick asks, are natural planar portals random, more likely in occupied regions, more common in unoccupied regions, or none of the above?
Natural portals are definitely less. They're less common around centers of civilization. So they tend to be more common in areas where fewer things live. They also tend to concentrate around areas of natural beauty, or I suppose if there was like natural ugliness too, just like unique sort of places, you're more likely to find them. But it would be very difficult to intentionally go out and find them based on that. Like, they sure seem pretty random. I just realized I don't want to obliterate this thing. I just want to... I want to cut it and lower it, basically.
Gabe asks if you have any ideas for abilities to give to a dwarf fighter that's the head of a criminal gang, and they are open to suggestions from the chat as well.
A dwarf fighter who's head of a criminal gang. Like, combat abilities or any abilities. See, I'm trying to... I can't decide if it'd be good to have a stream around people asking stuff like that, because I love those kinds of questions, but I don't know how good I am at coming up with good answers on a spot. Sometimes a great answer will come to me right away. Other times it might take longer than is appropriate during a stream. And as I'm trying to finish this boat here, it is not coming to me instantly, so maybe, hopefully the chat has some ideas for you. If I think of one, I will say it. Fighter leading criminal gang.
Bessie asks if Cornello's base is in the same place as the capital of Korstrad.
No. No. His castle, his main place is actually, given the size of the continent, is kind of stupidly close to Swain's. Like they're doomed to just, like, be against each other. Okay, I don't know what I've done. I've clearly messed up all these lines. I gotta just stop caring about them now and just, like, finish this, because it is not gonna be pretty. But yeah, the Ponari Citadel, the fortress that Cornello inherited from Vladimir, is not really all that far from, like, where Old House is, or from the border, or any of that stuff, despite the fact that Cornello does have all that territory going north and off to the east. There's got to be something interesting at the location of the White Palace, though, I would imagine. The Winter Palace, sorry. I mean, it is white, but you know what I mean. Dwarf fighters.
If the seed became a full spirit and then a vampire king shackled it, what would it do?
If what became a full spirit?
If the seed.
Oh, that. Yeah, I don't know. That's, you have no idea. We don't know what the seed's gonna grow into. Let alone what kind of powers it would give if it was shackled, because that's not even necessarily related. I think if the, I'm wondering if, again, not like a genius or useful idea, but if the dwarf fighter is leader of a criminal gang, criminal gang makes me think rogues, which makes me think it'd be good if he had some kind of really awesome perception sort of ability that let him, like, just like catch rogues that are sneaking around, but like if he was better able to see through deception to avoid, like, to see through sleight of hand and stuff like that, so they couldn't take advantage of him, and that's how he got to be in charge. That's not very concrete, though. It also seems kind of anime, though, if he had, like, some special, like, power, like, name it, like, the something eye, he had, like, his golden eye, or some, like, whatever thing like that, some crazy, like, power that he could use to see movements that he might otherwise not see, or something like that, and it helped him to rein in all the rogues. This is not going to be a very good drawing. Okay, whatever. Where am I?
Robot Master asks, would a natural planar portal disappear if civilization got built around it?
Well, I mean, that seems like a reasonable thing to extrapolate from the fact that they don't seem to come up where there's civilization. Most civilization was not there at the beginning of time, we assume. Okay, this has got to be up higher. Now it doesn't look big enough for a GigantaBoat. Let's make a change inside. These gotta line up more with the axis of the boat. Ah, that was an accidental selection. Okay, what the hell? Thing.
Christian. I hate computers.
Mm-hmm.
Christian asks, do you have a favorite prestige class in 3.5?
Excuse me. There's some cool prestige classes. Prestige classes. I feel like I had one before. I mean, there's one that I really liked that was from Unearthed Arcana, like from their, like, internet supplements stuff. Unearth the Arcana stuff. I can't remember what it's called, but it's this it's an arcane spellcaster prestige class, but it's based around like haste, and they get all these crazy. They lose a couple of caster levels, but they get such crazy ass abilities that it's actually worth it, which is pretty uncommon. It's usually if you're losing levels of spellcasting, it's usually a terrible thing. But one of the abilities they get is a 10 level class. One of the abilities they get near the end of the class is basically 3.0 haste. It's like in original 3rd edition, haste just gave you an extra standard action every round. In 3.5, they changed haste to be an area spell, but it only gives you an extra attack when you full attack. The extra standard action per round is crazy on spellcasters, whereas the newer version of haste, obviously, not so much. So this being a class where you could cast 2 spells a round, amongst other things. There was all kinds of other stuff. It had some annoying prereqs, but I don't remember what that class is called. Somebody probably does. Yeah, Swiftblade. Wyatt got it. Probably someone before him, but that's the one I saw. And I liked that class a lot. I don't think I ever got to play it, but I liked it. I like Warforged Juggernaut. Class has like it's not focused at the best things, but it's like whatever, it's fairly thematic, and you get to become much more constructy sort of Warforged, where you get your like immunity to crits and stuff like that. And you can make a crazy Bull Rush sort of build based off of it if you want to. Okay, part of the point of putting this on the front is... Yep.
Jabaz, what are some of your default enemies by levels?
I don't know. I try not to have like default enemies by levels so much. I'll do weird stuff, and I'll also like I will just make up whatever I want for the story and use the stat block from something else and reskin it. Like how the goo men were like, I think manticores. They're like manticores. I added 1 CR, gave them like +2 whole strength, and gave them their like goo resistance. Because I wanted to have goo men that could shoot spikes, so I based them off manticores. That's basically the kind of thing that happens. So yeah, I don't know if I have like particular enemies for different level ranges. And I don't like to do I don't like random encounter tables either. I guess I'm too much of a control freak or something. There are advantages to having random encounter tables if you make like smarter sort of ones, but I haven't done much of that. Like, if I was writing an adventure, I would do a random encounter table and describe intelligent ways to use it. Does this look like he's got 2 eyes, but they were, like, split up there? Or is it better if he has the 2 eyes on one side? I don't know. It's all a mess, and I still need to draw the sails.
Mr. I Hate Making Usernames asks, how do you plan out all the encounters and homeroom abilities? I always find it to be a ton of work, along with having to create whole character sheets for NPCs.
Well, it is a ton of work. I tend to not create whole character sheets for NPCs. I will just give them whatever skills I think are relevant, sort of thing. Like, I'm generally doing very shortened sort of stat blocks for anything that, especially anything that I don't expect to have combat with. I tend to try and, like, I do too much prep work, because, again, my bias is to be over-prepared, and I will have, like, pre-written dialogue and stuff, too. I have, like, a bunch of different dialogue options, try and, like, pick ones, and, like, modify them, because I'm not a robot, but try and have some clever lines that are pre-written that I can work into the conversation when we talk to NPCs, so that they sound more awesome, or funny, or whatever I'm going for. But with my over-prepping, I try really hard to only spend a lot of time on things that I'm very sure, like, based on how sure I am that it's going to get used. So, I will try and plan for alternatives, like if the party does something crazy, like kills this guy who I think they'll be friends with, or vice versa. I will plan for that, but if I think it's really unlikely, then my plan for that will be just like a couple of quick ideas for how it would go. Whereas my plan for what I think they're most likely to do might be a lot of detail, and like, oh, they're gonna have this room, and I'll set up this fight, and I'm gonna have this thing, or whatever. Just make a different version of this so I can go back if I mess it up. I need to split these. I have to say, the pirate crew seems to have been defeated by the combining it with the Ent suggestion. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of interesting crew here. I'll have to draw some... Oh my god! Stream's supposed to be over, like, in a few minutes. Okay. So, anyone want to suggest a good brown color? Here, just, oh man, I'm not doing a good job. The problem is taking like from actual like images of things. The colors you get tend to be like a mess because real colors are like not the pixel. Whatever, it's brown. Copy that. Don't lock. Derp, derp, derp. I thought I was grabbing a dark brown, but that looks like a pretty light brown to me. I'll take whatever. That's just gray. I know a gray code when I look at. Yeah, none of these is a good dark brown. I don't think.
Christian asks, when you have talked about Dagger's face build being all over the place, is there a way to fix it so that he becomes more optimized?
Well, it'd be kind of hard, because he's there. His objective, my objective in creating him wasn't necessarily for him to be optimized. He has a life history in a certain way. There should probably be some black in the split and stuff too, but I'm running out of time.
Chip asks, what is Rainbow Dash mixed with? It's clear she's part horse, but what else is she mixed with?
I didn't really think of her in that way. She's like, she's a big six-legged horse. Just sleep nearing it up. How lock was that? Oh, this thing looks terrible. I mean, I understand they can't all be winners when I'm doing it like this, but I was hoping... I don't know what I was hoping for, but I was hoping for better. Amazing how much time just making railings on this thing is wasting. Well, I hope this stream was interesting. Not just a complete bore fest. But we did get to do some more Q&A this time. Thank you, Orestria, for wasting a bunch of your Saturday morning helping me with crowd control and like asking questions and stuff. I hope it wasn't totally boring or annoying for you. Whatever, light brown. Darker brown. Light brown.
Chip wants to know what are the most NPCs you've ever had with the party, and I want to point out that it is now 10 o'clock my time. It is now.
Yeah, it is time. You're gonna have to. I think what's probably gonna happen. I don't want to. Yeah, I gotta let Orestria go and This has been a while. So I think I'm probably... This is not as finished as like. I will probably spend a half hour somewhere else finishing this up quickly so that it looks like something. Seems kind of lame to not have that on a stream. Let's see if I can keep recording it, maybe tack it on. I don't know how I'm going to do that, because if I make another separate video for the stream, whatever. Worry about it later, but yeah, I'll try and finish it off. But anyway, thanks everyone for coming out, and I hope it was entertaining in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if seeing my process is really what was happening here, because I normally don't go nuts with the lines and try to do isometric. Like when I'm drawing the robots for Polaron or something like that, I just pick one. I just draw whatever angle I feel like, and I eyeball everything. I'm probably better off doing that, but the problem is the boat's just a little bit too complicated to eyeball it and have it look good. So, I don't know. I will try and do that. We'll see you guys next time, and maybe I don't know how many streams I'm going to do. I mostly try and do one in the period when it's been when I've done an episode, and then like a couple weeks after that the extras comes out, and then a couple weeks after that it's kind of a dead zone maybe. That seems like a good time for a stream. But I'm going to try and do at least one stream a month. I'm still thinking of alternating between art streams and lore streams. So, if that's interesting, I'm glad you probably liked it if you're still here. So, yeah, I'm going to stop trying to end it and just end it. Thanks, everyone, and I will see you next time.